Today's topic at AIS Magnifier podcast Zooming on Success playlist is Students in Action, Roles and Responsibilities at AIS. AIS Magnifier podcast is an independent initiative born out of Adelaide International School's commitment in enhancing students' knowledge and well-being. From academic milestones to extracurricular knowledge, from personal growth to community impact, we uncover the multifaceted face of success at AIS. Today I'm here with Mr. Shaun Oakey, AIS current Principal and IGCSE International Cambridge General Certificate of Secondary Education Global Perspective Teacher. Thank you again, Mr. Oakey. Would you please once again introduce yourself?
Thank you, Pastor, and good afternoon. My name is Shaun Oakey and I am the Principal at Adelaide International School.
Thank you. To begin with, can you explain what you believe are the fundamental roles of students within our school community?
Well, the job of any school pastor is to replicate real life for the students. So all schools really strive very hard to do that, and they do that by preparing the student for ultimately a place of work. But of course, these days with the slogan "Learning for Life," it's very much to prepare the student for higher education or further education in some way, but particularly for places of work. And it's also to prepare our students for the challenges of life so that they know how to deal with certain situations that may confront them in the future. May they be pleasant situations or may they be very challenging situations.
Yep. Moving to academic responsibilities, overall, what are your expectations for students in terms of their academic responsibilities?
Look, I think there are a number of traits that make a good student and a student to be successful in their academic ventures. What we do have to remember, though, is that students progress at different rates. And whilst there are always levels expected, for certain age groups, learning and success of learning, to a certain extent goes at its own pace. The job of the teacher is to direct and to facilitate that as best they can. And the job of the student is to, act on the feedback and to listen carefully and to set in motion, I guess, some of the advice coming from the feedback. So common advice would be things like being well organized, setting up a routine that suits you, achieving a balance in your life, setting realistic goals that you can achieve, and be willing to try out different strategies with those goals, and not to be afraid if some of them don't go so well. Some of the best learning comes from realizing your mistakes and fixing them.
Risks are very important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking about, academic responsibilities, let's talk about behavioral responsibilities. So in our school community, what behaviors do you believe are essential for maintaining a respectful and, more important, a productive learning environment?
Yeah, great question. Look, one of the things that we are very big on here at Adelaide International School is being a global citizen and being inclusive. And so, we expect our students, and we certainly ask our students to, tolerate one another's points of views, to listen to others, and even if you don't privately agree, to give one another the space to express views and to express their likes and dislikes, and not to always seek to challenge, but to be humble and to have humility. And I think it also comes with listening to one another, being prepared to listen to one another, and that way we foster good relationships. And I think it's also important that simple things like being well attired, looking after yourself, setting good examples to others. These promote good behaviour and good approaches in study and through all walks of life, really.
Yeah. So one of the most important part of learning in school is being prepared for community and society that we are going to step in after graduating. How can students get involved in community services or volunteer opportunities through the school?
Yeah, again, I think many schools are striving to occupy space here. I think we all realise that as part of, as you rightly say, preparing students for later life, if we can simulate that in school, one of the best ways is working with local communities and working with local industries to achieve that. And it's quite interesting. I think I read the other day that the British Prime Minister wants to bring back national service, or as a replacement for those that don't want to do national service, it would be some, up to 12 months unpaid work. And I think there's a feeling that in order to develop good character and for you to achieve work-life balance, it's all about stepping outside of the self and what motivates the self, but doing good for others and helping other people. And voluntary work is a very easy way that young people can get involved. And schools have all sorts of opportunities. Here at AIS, for instance, we've just started our house system. And house activities are an excellent way of getting students involved in fundraising for charity. And later this year, our house leaders will be asking the houses to nominate a charity for 2024, and we'll have an overall theme that we want to look at as the school, and we'll be able to organise all sorts of events in order to raise money. But also we can do this through our everyday learning, and our teachers do have their networks and their contacts and their interests, and sometimes this actually knits very well with the study program. So, in a subject like global perspectives or science, there might be tree planting or cleaning of the environment. And these are activities where we can go get students out and about, doing some of these good things for the community.
Right. Yeah, that sounds awesome to me. Um, Although doing these things might lead to also challenges. So, for example, how can students effectively manage their time and responsibilities to avoid burnout, which is the most, I believe, important enemy of a student during a school year, especially in year 12?
Yeah, and burnout, something we're seeing more and more of, particularly with mental health challenges, and I think also students can sometimes feel that there's a lot of pressure from everyone. There's pressure from friends to conform in certain ways. There's pressure from parents to do their best, and they feel that they might be letting their parents down if they are not achieving particular grades in some subjects. And of course, the student wants to please the teacher because the teacher is the mentor, is the first person that they really are seeking to impress for all sorts of reasons.
Yeah.
And so you can expend a huge amount of energy in trying to please all of these people and set yourself very high standards. And there's nothing wrong in setting the high standards, but it's one thing to set them, another thing to follow through on them, and another thing on top of that to follow through on them and look after oneself. And it's a difficult thing to achieve the balance. And it all centers on that work-life balance: eating well, moving well, sleeping well. And again, most schools have programs in place to assist students in finding what the best routine is for them, and they do their best to guide the student through those things. But above all, is the student speaking out. It's being willing to speak to someone about when things get tough.
Finding a body.
Yeah, finding your buddy, finding a family member. Schools have counsellors. There's always people in a school that can help. And I think the biggest challenge for the student is understanding that and not worrying about that, not worrying that they will be judged, but being prepared to say, look, I need some help.
It is always okay.
Yeah, and it's okay to ask for help. We want students to ask for help. That's why we're here.
Great. And for my last question, what final advice do you have for students to successfully fulfill their roles and responsibilities?
I think it all centers on having a plan. I think it's okay to not know what you want to do ultimately in life, But I think it's important to think about it, and I think it's important to have some direction. And it doesn't matter if you change your mind. You might sort of think, well, I want to be a fireman.
Yes.
And this is very common when you ask a 6-year-old boy, I want to be a fireman.
Yeah.
By the time he's 12, he might want to be a journalist. By the time he's 17,
Scientist.
he might want to be a scientist.
Yeah.
And it's okay to change, but I think it's important to have something to strive for, something to have a goal, something that can give you belonging and purpose. And those are the things that truly motivate us. And if we don't have those things, it is difficult to be motivated, and it's difficult to feel that there is direction in your life. So I think that's important.
Absolutely. Thank you once again, Mr. Oakey, for being here and sharing your valuable knowledge to us and our audiences. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please stay tuned for next episode and don't forget to support us. Thank you.